recognize Senior Member of Parliament, Honorable Brian Mondevile, and my younger brother there, the Junior Member of Parliament, Honorable Francis Kapianga. Let me also recognize the media. Today, I have only two issues that I want to share with the public about. First, I want to talk about the constitution amendments. And secondly, I'll be discussing the census report vis-a-vis the ministerial statement, which was presented by Honorable Dr. Stombekom Sokotwai. By way of starting my discourse, I would like to appreciate the women of our country, the women of the world, and the young people of our country, the young people of the world. Now, the women in this country played a significant role in liberating our country. And I do recall speaking to my own mother. She was very clear about the role that she played supporting my father fighting colonialism. Now, my late father had younger brothers, younger sisters who could have been considered as youths, who were called them Posamaways. So those played a significant role. And when I observed the commemoration of the Women's Day and the Youth Day by these people, I reminisce with pride the stories I got from my father. Congratulations both on your days, the women and youths, and also for what you did and what you represent. I have a few issues to comment on the constitutional amendments. Firstly, I would like to say that for the first time in the history of this country, the UPND government wants to amend the constitution without a roadmap. They have not told anyone what the roadmap is in respect of how they intend to amend the constitution. Now, this means that nobody knows about the budgetary allocation to this process. Nobody knows anything about this process. Which means that there is literally no transparency. I have been complaining about, this issue of transparency and accountability when it comes to the UPND government. We used to tell UPND, you need to be transparent in the manner you manage the country. Remember how UPND brought AFRICOM to our country? Completely no transparency. Remember how we passed the budget, this same budget we are in, the 2025 budget. Completely no transparency. A government allowing only one backbencher to debate the budget. That was poor. It should never happen. People must be involved in running their affairs. So there is no roadmap. Nobody has ever talked about the roadmap. So clearly, this is a process born in some mind, maybe one or two people. And this particular draft that is being referred to could be a draft that has been created by one or two people. I recall that even the Minister of Information and Media, Honorable Cornelius Mwita, said government has no intentions of amending the constitution. So where have those intentions come from? You need to improve when it comes to issues of transparency. But allow me to appreciate the civil society organizations who had a press briefing yesterday, who rejected government's intentions to amend the constitution. Now that shows you clearly that when you say you have consulted, you are lying. UPND government, you have not consulted anyone. The CSOs yesterday rejected the fact that you should amend the constitution. And they referred you to what is important right now, the cost of living. They referred you to the suffering of the Zambian people. And they told you, instead of focusing on the amendment of the constitution, focus on the suffering majority Zambians ameliorate the suffering of the majority Zambian people. So far you have spent a lot of energy. You can imagine the president explained the constitutional amendments in the National Assembly. He went to explain in Kasama. He went to explain in Mongo. That is a lot of energy at presidential level. The ministers are suffering to explain constitutional amendments, talking about delimitation, talking about, more constituencies so that CDF can go to more areas. They have even forgotten that some people are saying this CDF should be reduced because there's a lot of fraud. They have forgotten that what the general is saying, you are not applying CDF properly. They have forgotten all those things, but they want to increase the pockets of CDF so that these frauds can actually increase. So clearly, the government does not know what it wants to do. This is why everybody is just saying everything, in order to confuse themselves more and confuse the people. But here are the reasons that the president has given. When the president addressed the members of parliament or the nation through the National Assembly of Zambia, he said he wants constituencies to be delimited. And he said he wants MPs to revert to the councils. These are the two reasons offered. And he actually claimed that there was consensus on those particular aspects. He claimed on the floor of the House. I have to tell you that where the consensus was being achieved, I wasn't there. Maybe my brother, you are not there. Maybe Kapianga, were you there? So all of us here where the UPND was achieving that consensus were not there, and I can tell you in no uncertain terms that members of the Patriotic Front and many others were not there. And we on this one would be together with the Honorable Cornelius Mwitwa, who said government has no intentions of amending the constitution. And then the president went to Kasama. There in Kasama, what reason did he give? He said he wants to appoint more women. So in Kasama, it moved from constitutional constituency delimitation to appointing more women. Who was the president addressing in Kasama? He was addressing the Zambian people through a women's event. They are there, the National Women's Day. Then the president went to Mongo. There he gave the reason for youths. Now, in Parliament, because that's where members of Parliament sit, the president gives reasons to do with the parliamentarians. I'll give you more constituencies. Those of you who have big constituencies will cut them so that you can only tender, a few people. So that's attractive to members of Parliament. In Kasama, he speaks to women. Yeah, I need to appoint more women. He speaks to something that will be appealing to the women. And there in Kasama, he even adds that I take it, we have agreed. So just because he talked about it, he took it, they had agreed. Then in Mongo, he talks about the youths. So I want to tell you that it appears to me that even at that level, there is a big problem. The president is only speaking to things that he thinks, in my view, will be attractive to the audience he's talking to. I want to make it clear that there is nothing that stops the president from appointing women right now. There is nothing in the constitution that stops the UPND party from adopting more women and therefore bring more women in the National Assembly of Zambia. As a matter of fact, I can show you a few women for whom I think are not being treated well. You consider Mrs. Esther Lungu, the former First Lady, and how she has been treated for acquiring flats. The flats which the husband built for her or bought for her, whatever the case may be. The husband buys property for her. UPND government, under this president who wants to appoint more women, will go and say, you are not supposed to own these flats. And they take her to court. You consider how Edith Nawakwi is being treated by this same government which wants to show respect to women. I want you to think about Mumbi Piri and how Mumbi Piri was in prison in Western Province for so many months. The day she was supposed to be acquitted, only to receive a nole from the same government which prosecuted her up to the end. On the very last day when she was supposed to walk to freedom, the same government now says we have no evidence to prosecute you. And Mumbipiri also was arrested in Kawampu. Same government again, same DPP again, goes to write to everybody and said, no, Mumbipiri has got no case. But what happened after that rapporteur went? She went back in sales. Mumbipiri went back in sales. I want you to think about what is happening to Maureen Mavonga, who is a member of parliament. Maureen Mavonga right now is in court for saying what? For saying the people in Lusaka are more than those in Western, those in Mongo. Sorry, those in Solwezi. How can somebody, even the census, which I'll talk about later, says so? There are more people here in Lusaka than those that are in Solwezi. So somebody says that today she is appearing in court. And then for the young people, the youths, who the president says, I want you people to have opportunities. I want you to consider how Jinsenga is treated. Jinsenga, like Mumbipiri, were in police cells. Jinsenga arrested for completely nothing until she stole a phone. Can Jinsenga steal a phone? Jinsenga can afford the phone, I suppose. A member of parliament for some constituency in an area where people suffer, you can think that the people here have a poverty of mind, but Jinsenga may not have a poverty of mind. She may not. So I think it is completely false to claim that young people want to be treated well. Where is JJ Banda today? JJ Banda is on the run because of the treatment of the same government. What is happening to Munia Zulu? Now, these are already in parliament. Binwa Mpundu, just for talking, he was in police cells at Woodlands here. So I don't see the promise for the youth as the reason as to why this government wants to amend the constitution. Now, 3 reasons given in 3 different occasions, literally in 1 week, by the same leadership. You can't now deduce what the problem is. Today, the Vice President was asked, when you say we have agreed us, who is us? The Vice President attempted to explain and said, no, we are referring to the Mungomba Commission, we are referring to Mwanakato Commission, we are talking about the Vunga Commission. She only omitted Bill 10 because Bill 10 was done during PF. And these things the President has been talking about, the youths, the youth constituency delimitation and so on, were in Bill 10. I don't know about in these commission reports. But let me be clear. These commission reports happened a long time ago. It is totally irresponsible to take reports which are outdated and use them for and use them as the sole reason for creating future documents. People should be consulted now. The level of technology has changed. The population has changed. Even Dr. Muskotwan confirmed from 13.1 million people to 19.7 million people. That is between 2010 and 2022. That's a jump in population. You can't take the views which existed when people were just 6 million and say this is the basis for our constitution amendment. What type of thinking is that? This is why I will tell UPND. UPND should start thinking. And when you think, be critical so that you just don't come to mislead us and mislead the nation and think that we're all going to take this kind of thing. I think that this shows irresponsibility. It shows that you think that you can cheat your way anyhow and obtain what you are looking for. Now, if UPND is serious about governing this country, they must be truthful, they must be transparent, they must be accountable to the people of Zambia. Those who refuse to account to people think that they can do anything. And this is what you are actually demonstrating. I think the constitutional amendments, like many people have said, are ill-intended. They should be put aside, and UPNG go and focus on the suffering majority Zambians. reduce the suffering of the Zambian people. The second point that I want to address, as I said earlier, is the census vis-a-vis this ministerial statement, this one, which Dr. Msokotwani delivered on the 4th of March, 2025. And I would like to say that I am disappointed that there is a fight between the Civil Service Commission and the Zambia Statistics Agency. This is poor on the part of the UPND government. It is very poor. It should not happen, because the Civil Service Commission and the ZAMSTAT, both institutions work in the name of the president, and for the leaders to begin to counter each other in these institutions is very poor, very, very poor. The last week I spoke here, I was saying, if it were me sitting as president, Dr. Chorobeani was going to be fired that same day he caused the scene at the presentation of the census report. Now, the Minister of Finance, of course, came to the floor of the House, according to this ministerial statement on 4th March, to come and clarify. I think after a lot of people talked about the fight between Dr. Beane and Zamstat, he wanted to clarify, well, and he came to the House. When he came, this is the ministerial statement he presented. I have observed in this ministerial statement that, number one, the information on provinces and their trends are not consistent. In some provinces, Dr. Msokotwani provided the figures, that is the movement from 2010 to 2022 in a few provinces. In some provinces, he deliberately omitted the figures, but just pronounced percentages. That is in Luapula province, in Northern province, and in Muchinga province. He just decided to pronounce the percentages. He left out the figures. But what is even more worrying is that he omitted Southern province completely. And Southern province is the only province that he omitted in his ministerial statement. He said nothing about Southern province. Now, how can the Minister of Finance produce a ministerial statement talking about statistics of the population and talk about the 9 provinces and just leave out Southern province without a comment whatsoever? And you even know that in Southern province, that's where the 15 words which are bringing controversy between Central Statistics and the Civil Service Commission, that is where they are. So what is the problem in Southern province? I read somewhere today that KBF has said that UPND has been rigging elections in Southern province. Okay, this is what KBF is saying. Now, KBF is a former partner with the UPND. They were in the alliance, so he knows what he's talking about. This there is a big problem in Southern province. 15 words, the figures are contested by somebody who has nothing to do with census. And then the report for the population report, which was put on Facebook, on social media, or on the internet, which was uploaded on the portal for Zamstat, has been withdrawn in suspicious circumstances. And then the minister comes to the House, he talks about 9 provinces leaving out Southern province. I suspect there is a huge problem in Southern province. Huge problem. In terms of figures of the population, the voters register, and so on and so forth. But see, because this now is in public domain, people know now that there is a problem in Southern province. Even KBF has said so. Maybe in 2026 there may be a problem. Where is the escape route? Constitution. I suggest strongly that an independent auditor should audit the figures of the population figures in Southern Province, so that you can bring credibility to these numbers. Otherwise, if we go into elections with these discrepancies, we risk having serious problems with regard to numbers emanating from Southern Province. Now, there is time to do that. There should be resources to do that. You may not have time and resources to consult people broadly and do a proper constitutional amendment, but you must find money and time to make these reconciliations. Somebody said the Electoral Commission of Zambia is aiming at having 10 million voters. 10 million voters. Now, this is more than 50% of the population. Show me a country which is predominantly populated by people who are below the voting age, which can achieve 50% voter registration. How? This is the same ECZ which has been claiming that President Hakainde Hichilema will win in 2020. That the president is going to win in 2026. ECZ, Electoral Commission of Zambia. So, I am sorry, the numbers will not allow. Read the census report. It's impossible to have 50% of the population registered. In fact, if we're talking about 19 million, this is even more than 50% of the population. When we know that there are more young people who have not attained, the voting age. So you are in big problems. These pieces of information you are bringing to the public, we will read, we will analyze, and we will come to the public and inform the public that you are cheating. Chief and Kofiwa UPN.
Hold on. Yes, Honorable Kapianga will add his thoughts. Hold on.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, colleagues from the media. I recognize the presence of my senior colleagues, the leader of opposition, and Honorable Kafwaya. To start with, let me put it on record that I was in South Africa last week, Pretoria in particular, and I visited His Excellency, the former President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, where he is resting, and is doing very fine. The Zambian people should not listen to failures. The failures who have failed to deliver for the Zambian people are now resorting to propaganda, thinking that is what will win them elections in 2026. The position of the Zambian people is well known. Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu is the nation's political compass. Regardless of the negativity towards him, that position will not change. And the UPND must accept that fact. Failure to accept, they will never know what will hit them in 2026. The same goes to the senior aide at the State House, my elder brother, Creoson Amasaka, who has commented negatively on the health of the former president. I want to appeal to you, my brother, that we know power is very intoxicating, but please remember that you are there being paid for by taxpayers' money, including Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu does pay tax. In return, you get a salary. So please focus on your work, focus on defending the failures, focus on defending the things that you cannot even defend in the end. As you do so, as you enjoy free fuel, as you enjoy free meals, the Zambian people are suffering. On the issue of the constitutional amendment, and the president today is having a meeting with UPND youths at Mlungushi International Conference Center, which they have branded National Youth Indaba. Now you can look at it from that angle and you see the level of, the level of pettiness in our country and his deceit. How can the whole lot of a president mobilize his party youth, take them to Mlungushi International Conference Center and call it a National Youth Indaba, when youth members of parliament from the opposition are not invited, when youth organizations are not invited? No, what kind of deceit is that? No, we can do better as a country. Delimitation is a good thing, it's not in dispute. But you cannot give me a poisoned apple and you think that when I have information that this apple is poisoned, I'll receive it with both hands. I can't, because I know your intention. We know the intention of the UPND government is to dangle a lot of carrots for the Zambian people, yet in the real sense, they want to put things in the constitution that will perpetuate their stay in power. They know their time is up. This is the more reason why they want to amend the constitution before the 2026 general elections, because they want to put in things that will perpetuate their stay in power, contrary to the wishes and desires of the Zambian people. Delimitation, we are also aware. Let me also put it on record that actually my mother's father comes from Western Province, and her grandson comes, dad comes from Southern Province. But we have been and we have privy to the information that a lot of constituencies that will be delimited will be in 3 provinces. Just like they have decided from 2021 December to date, they've been conducting mobile national registration in 3 provinces, and they don't want anyone to talk about it. They've been conducting mobile national registration in 3 provinces since December 2021. Then they will go on podiums and talk about national unity, inclusivity, and all that. To the contrary, they are doing things that reveal that they do not mean well for the unity of the nation. Even the same delimitation, they want to increase the number of constituencies in 3 provinces. Not only that, we know that, like I'll tell you, we have information from within themselves. We are members of parliament. They do hold what they call caucus meetings every month, these UPND MPs. And after their meetings, friends within the UPND come to us and review the things that they talk about. Some of the things that they have discussed allegedly in those meetings is that they are going to bring back the deputy ministers. That is what they want to be in the so-called constitutional amendment. The other thing is that they want to remove that article which allows for the repeat of nominations when a candidate withdraws. They have told us. Our friends have also told us, allegedly, that they want to remove the 50% plus 1 winning threshold for the president. Our friends have told us. These are the things that they want to put in the constitution. They won't tell you because they know that once the bill finds itself in parliament, they've bought some, sorry to say, unpatriotic opposition MPs who they hope will help them pass the bill. So what they will deceive the Zambian people right now that they are taking a good document to parliament. Once the document finds itself in parliament, it will go through with these bad amendments. They are talking about wanting more youth to be in parliament. Like, really, is that coming from a person that has taken Jini Chisenga to court? Is that coming from a person that has made JJ Banda to run away from his own country? Is that coming from a person that has taken Binwe Mpundu to the police? What kind of hypocrisy is that? Here in parliament, we the youths have no chance to present the issues of our people. How does he expect those that will come and have a chance when all his speakers have been told not to allow us to speak freely in parliament? No, We cannot be joking in this manner. This government must be serious. When other presidents in the region and beyond are focused on developing their countries, today we are playing with mediocrity. Like really, as a country, we can't accept that. If the president wants the youth to come to parliament, he has powers. He's the party president of UPND. He can simply adopt a lot of youths during the 2026 general elections. He should just adopt a lot of youths and a lot of women. He would have bridged the gap. Okay? And other political parties will follow suit because he's the president for the party in power. So whatever he does, if it's a good thing, others will follow suit. If he adopts a lot of youths under his UPND ticket, other political parties will follow suit. That solution does not lie in amending the constitution. The other thing is that if he wants a lot of youths in decision-making positions, he has the powers to appoint. Ask yourself, who is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia? Is that a youth? Who is the High Commissioner, the Zambia's High Commissioner to Malawi? Is that a youth? Who is the Minister of Youth? Is that a youth? Ask yourself who the High Commissioner, the Zambian High Commissioner to Malawi is. Is that a youth? Why hasn't he first and foremost demonstrated that he means well for the youths and the women? The only reason why he wants to appear like he means well for them is because he wants to put in clauses, rather articles in the constitution that will perpetuate his stay in power. The other issue is the president and his government should focus on creating jobs for the youth. He should not just think of creating more positions for politicians in UPND, because these constitution amendments are all about UPND, nothing for the Zambian people. He just wants to weak the Zambian people to believe that he means well for them, when in the actual sense it's UPND. This purpose is just intended at saving UPND from the wrath of the Zambian people. You go to Kalingalinga, you go to Mtendere, you go to Mandevu, you go to Kanyama, you go everywhere in Lusaka, you go to Mpika in Chitulika, Kamwanya, Shanghai, and everywhere. The people there are suffering. They don't even expect anyone in government to start talking about constitution amendments, spending a lot of money on constitution amendments. And even then, when you ask them to do infrastructure development, they say that there is no money. Now, where will they get the money for running a bloated government like they want to bring allegedly deputy ministers back? Where will they get the money? The Zambian youths, I want to appeal to you that a constitution is your document. The constitution is a people's document. Any amendment to this particular document has to be done based on broader consultations. The Zambian people have to be thoroughly consulted and agree to any amendment, even to commas and full stops in the constitution. The Zambian people must agree that we want it to be embedded in the constitution. One person and a few others in power who are enjoying free things at the behest of the Zambian people cannot dictate on what must be in the constitution. And after consulting themselves, they even go out there to champion a narrative that they have consulted the Zambian people. Which Zambian people? When the opposition members of parliament, when the chiefs, when the clergy, the Zambia Catholic, the ZCCB is on record to have stated that they do not agree on constitution amendments. Then, who did the government consult? The government has not undertaken any thorough consultations to amend the constitution. The starting point, first and foremost, is to give the Zambian people the roadmap. Then start consultations on the constitution amendment process. Without that, no single person will agree. Without that, no single person will accept. And if really the constitution amendments by the UPND are in good faith, let them listen and listen to the people who are saying, please, not now. If it is in good faith and in the best interest of the Zambian people, let them listen, because Zambians have spoken. Zambian people have vehemently objected to any constitution amendment. If the president is being told the truth by those who surround him, by now he knows the position of the Zambian people on this subject. The Zambian people's position on this subject is that not now. Until broader consultations are done, the Zambian people agree, that's when we can embark on a constitution amendment process. The president is on record having vehemently refused intentions of amending the constitution. Let him go by his area stance. Those that this stance that he has taken is not in the best interest of the Zambian people. If it is in the best interest of the Zambian people, let him listen and listen. Let the UPND government listen and listen. There is a bit of some time. We are still have a bit of, I think, 10 months. The focus should be on improving the lives of the Zambian people, which they have not focused on in the past 3.5 years. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable. Honorable Sopa.
So I can say a few things, eh?
What is the subject?
Talk. You can divert. So the issue is just constitution. Okay, thank you. So my names are Davis Sopa. I'm the member of parliament from Kushi South. So to start with, I want to first of all appeal to Speaker Moyo. Speaker Moyo, he must know that he is just one term in parliament. And for me, I've never spoken about him, but today I want to mention to him that parliament is a people's house. He must not take it personal. And me, I don't present the people of Rwangen. I represent the people of Rwanda. And therefore, when I come into parliament, I don't come to speak for people of Rwangen. I speak for the people of Rwanda. And if it affects the people of Rwangen, he must just accept that, yes, indeed, this also accepts the people of Rwangen. And therefore, he must stop bringing in issues of personality. Let him be above board. I've been observing that each time I raise, if I want to speak, he's always ignoring me. I know that he's only remaining with 13 months to go. He's not coming back. That one I'm aware about it. But he must not frustrate the process because he knows that he's not coming back, and therefore he must sit on our right, because some of us, yes, we know we are coming back because we know what we have done for the people where we are coming from. So that said, today one of our members talked about the issues of food security. I want to appeal to UPND that each time they are speaking, they should first of all look at what is obtaining on the ground. Because why I say so is that you cannot start talking about constitution when people are hungry. The constitution that people are looking for now is food. People want to have food on the table. People want to have an economy where people are able to afford to put food on their table. We have no time, really, the president should be aware that we have no time to start talking about the constitution when people are suffering. Today, one of my colleagues was even talking about that the government has brought in a program of selling maize for sale in all the whole country, the whole nation. No, that is not the position. If today you go to Chingombe, in my constituency where I'm coming from, you go to Mbosha, go to Chembe, go to Katetaula, you will see how much people are suffering. They have never received any maize for sale. They have never received any relief maize. Today, they are boasting that, no, we have brought food. Where have they taken the food? So when the people are talking about food security, they should be aware that there are some places where food, this same food for sale, has not even reached. And even when you take food for sale, how do people eat? How do people buy? When there is no money, people have no money. Today we are talking about cash for work. That cash for work is a scandal. It's a scandal. People now have decided to be listing names, fake names, and the people are paying themselves. It's a cadre program. It is not a national program. So, and how do you account for it? The names that are being listed on that program, it's UPND. So if they have to be anonymous, magnanimous enough, let them do a transparency program. Let them do a transparent process. Let's not be selective in the way we are running the governance. Governance, when you say government, government is about the people. Government is for the people. And when you are talking about the people, it's the Zambian people. Now, if Zambian people are not eating, Zambian people are not able to put food on the table, how do you say we are running the governance properly? Today, even the money itself, when you look at 10 kwacha, it's so dirty. We are failing even just to print a money that the person cannot. I'm coming from the constituency. 10 kwacha, you see the 10 kwacha, even if you are asked you go to the bank and ask for 10 kwacha, you see how dirty the 10 kwacha is today. You see how dirty the 5 kwacha is today. You see how dirty the 20 kwacha is. Just the currency itself is so dirty. Now you can imagine if the currency can be dirty, what about those of us who are running the governance? So it's very, very important that we need to do things transparently. You cannot start talking about the constitution. The CSOs yesterday, CSOs yesterday, they rejected the constitution. The Council of Bishops, they rejected the constitution. They said it is too late for us to talk about the constitution. Let's start talking about the constitution next year, after elections. How do you start talking about the process? You are saying we have already got the draft. When did we have a roadmap? When did we have a roadmap? Where has that draft come from? And who has looked at that draft? Who have made the recommendation? Today, our owner, the vice president, was saying there is a Mungomba constitution. There are those submissions that were done, and therefore we need to do a cheaper process. There is nothing. There are no shortcuts. The documents we are talking about is a people-driven constitution. When you are talking about the people-driven constitution, every individual must participate. Every individual must put in an input. That is how it is. You cannot talk about the constitution because of the Mungomba. Because the document which we have now, if I remember very well, the same UPND were pushing no constitution, no elections, no constitution, no election. The president then, Edgar Chagarum, had to be forced to say, okay, I'm going to sign this document. The document was signed and everyone was happy. The matters that they are bringing in today, those are matters that were in Bill 10. And they rejected Bill 10. Today they are talking about, no, we want to bring proportional representation. No, we want to bring a delimitation. All those things were in Bill 10. They refused Bill 10. Today now it is them. Now they have seen that the constitution was important to do an amendment. For the constitution amendment, we are not going to be part and parcel. If CSOs have refused, which governs the people? If the church have refused, which governs the people? Which institution is going to say yes? For us, we will stay with the people. If the church will say, let's amend the constitution, we are ready to support. If the CSO says, let's amend the constitution, we are ready to support. But as long as the stakeholders are not ready to support the process, we are not ready to support the process as well. I thank you so much and I submit.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sofa. I want to start by acknowledging the speaker that spoke before me, Honorable Mr. And I think the very passionate about the mysterious statement that was delivered by Honorable Mr. Kotwane. He started features in his address with that for some reason and by design. A southern province was not reported as this. It's something that Africans need to take interest in. And of course, he went to length to talk about the proposed constitutional amendment that also Honorable Robert Kapianda spoke about and Honorable David spoke about. So the elephant in the room are the proposed amendments to the Constitution. I must start by saying that President Edgar Chagwa is a citizen of this country. Not only is he a former president, but he's a citizen of this country. Honorable Kapianga described him as a political compass for this country. I equally subscribe to that. And that President Edgar Chagwa will continue to give guidance to the nation on various matters, including constitutional amendments. So Comrade Clayson Hamasaka will do himself a favor to stay away from advising President Lungu, but instead direct his efforts at directing or advising or guiding His Excellency the President Chileba, who's in status now, that consultations around constitutional amendments are not made at political rallies. That's not how you consult in constitutional amendments. We saw that the president was in Mongo and was consulting youths at the rally. UPND. That's not the manner and form in which consultations are done. What he did in Kasama is not how you do consultation. So probably Comrade Clayton Hamasaka may wish to direct his efforts towards that. From the onset, I want to say that as PF members under the alliance, we will not support the proposed constitutional amendment. The position has been made very clear that even if there may be good intentions around constitutional amendments, that cannot be done now. That cannot be done now. And the reasons are simple. Popular participation is very key in constitutional amendments. The process of constitutional amendments started around 2022. We've been talking to our friends in the APND. You may be interested to know that the process almost started at Parliament. We, the PF Anatons Alliance, rejected and resisted. We advised Parliament that we could not be the ones to initiate constitutional amendments. What they called low-hanging fruits, we advised them there's nothing like low-hanging fruits when it comes to constitutional amendments. We advised them that, firstly, the constitutional amendment process needed to be designed. The roadmap to constitutional amendment is part of the design. The sequencing of events like dialogue, timeliness, and so on were part of the design. So when you look at what has happened in the past few days, it's a source of worry. Because when the president announced that he has actually got the draft, we got very concerned. We got very concerned when we heard that
fact, what the president is using today to dangle before the youths and dangle before the women, which is representation in parliament, was actually contained in Bill 10. Here is what the president said. The president at that time, President Hakainde Hichilema, at that time advised the youths and the women that please don't be swayed, don't be persuaded. What the PF is doing by assuring you that they would want to increase your participation in parliament is like someone who takes a cup full of poison and they put sugar in it and that's you to drink. I want to repeat those words. President Hakainde Hichilema warned the women and the youths that they should not drink from a poison chalice. That Bill 10 was a poison chalice. So the draft that President Hakainde Hichilema has today is a poison chalice. We all know, by now we all know that President Hakainde Hichilema is interested in amending Article 52. He wants to introduce clauses to do away with 50+1. He wants to introduce clauses to do away with the term limit. He wants to introduce clauses to do with the running mate, to do away with the running mate. They want to introduce clauses to introduce deputy ministers, among others. So to our women and the youths, what President Hakainde Hichilema is dangling before you, to repeat his words, he's serving you with a cup full of poison, but adding sugar to it, so that the youths can jump at the youth representation, the women can jump at women representation. My colleagues have asked very pertinent questions. If indeed President Hakainde Hichilema was interested in representation of women and the youths, reflect upon what has happened to Maureen Mavonga. Maureen Mavonga is in court today because of representing the people of Mfuwe. Jean Chisenga is in and out of police cells because of representing the people of Mambilima. Honorable Mulenga Kampamba cannot be given a chance to debate on the floor of the House just because she does not agree with the ruling elite. Given Katuta is in court today for representing her people. Look at Edith Nawakwi. Honorable Kafua referred to Edith Nawakwi. She's in and out of court because of representing her people. Mumbi Piri was incarcerated for over 400 days, merely for representing her people. Madam Esther Lungu is in and out of court, because she's a woman that is married to a former president. Munia Zulu, where is JJ Banda? What is happening to Binu Mpundu? If indeed the president was concerned about youth in governance and the women, we will not have the situation as we have today. The very few women that are in parliament today, first of all, are not given an opportunity to debate on the floor of the House. As long as they do not agree, the pattern is very clear. Take stock of the women that agree with the UPND. They're given latitude. They can rise at any point on a point of order, they'll be given latitude. They can even debate their own point of order and the speaker will entertain it. Does that happen to any of our women that do not agree with President Hakainde Hichilema and his government? Begin to take an audit. What about the youths? What's happened to Munia Zulu? My young brother is in and out of court every day. Why? Because he does not agree with the misrule by the UPND. He's therefore put in court every day to try and frustrate and break him. And today, President Hakainde Hichilema should come to the Zambian people and say he's interested to introduce youth leaders in parliament. That is not true. That is not true. I will repeat what he said. When the president says that to you, the youth, take it that he's serving you with a cup full of poison and then he puts in sugar. Those were his own words as he fought Bill 10. That's exactly what it is. Because he will never tell you about Article 52. The president is not telling you that he wants to do away with 50+1. The president is not telling you that he wants to do away with the term limits. He's not telling you that he wants to do away with the running mate. He's not telling you that he wants to introduce deputy ministers. So the issue of delimitation The issue of delimitation is just a carrot that is dangling before all of us. I remember Jack Mwimbu, the current Minister of Home Affairs. He rose on the floor of Parliament in 2019 and told this nation that we could change the numbers in Parliament without having to amend the Constitution. And that's how that process was frustrated. He has never rendered an apology to the Zambian people for misleading the Zambian people. What our point is, delimitation, yes. Introduction or delimiting constituencies can be done at any other time. If you look at the processes that I described, you agree with me that we are out of time. Because the starting point in constitution consultations, the constitution making or amendment should be, first of all, the Minister of Justice needs to come up with a design of how we're going to undergo the process. Within that design will be the roadmap. Members of Tonse, PF under Tonse, will endeavor to go in the constituencies of those members and begin to decampaign them right away. We will partner with the people. We will partner with the church because they would have gone against the aspirations of the Zambian people. Those members of parliament that will compromise their values, those members of parliament from the PF that will abandon the wishes and aspirations of their constituents, will go after them in their constituencies, after partnering with the church and partnering with the people. The issue of constitution making is not a playing matter. It's a matter that should be taken with the seriousness that it deserves. And we are appealing to our members of parliament. We are saying to them that be on the side of the people. Go to your people and consult what the people in your constituencies will say. In the event that you allow yourselves as members of parliament to be compromised by the ruling elite because of the trappings that will come from them, we will have no choice as a party, as an alliance, to gang up and descend upon your constituencies to expose you to the people that would have betrayed. And we think this is a very serious matter that we all must take very, very seriously. So going forward, we are saying that this process must be put away. A new process, a consultative process could be initiated, a process that will be transparent, a process that will be governed by accountability, a dialogue, and timeliness. These are things that have happened before. I want to remind the nation that when the then Minister of Justice, Honorable Given Luvinda, undertook a constitutional amendment process by sending a staff from Ministry of Justice to go around the country in 2017. They came back with a report. Honorable Luvinda was on the floor of the House on several occasions, calling upon members of parliament and other stakeholders to submit to this particular process after having laid down the roadmap. CSOs and members of parliament and other political parties engaged President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. I remember at the time I was privileged to attend a meeting at the party secretariat where opposition political parties including UPND Alliance at the time. I think President Sean Tembo was representing them, and many other parties met with President Edgar Chagwa and appealed to him. They appealed to him that there was need for wider consultation. They also appealed to him to abandon the process and start all over again. And President Edgar Chagwa did not hesitate. Right there and then, he directed Minister Lubinda to halt the process and open up the consultative process yet again. So what we are asking President Hakainde Hichilema to do is nothing new. This is something that he needed to do. We are very disappointed that he decided to go up to the extent of drafting a draft constitution amendment bill without consultation. We are members of parliament here. We are key stakeholders. The CSOs are key stakeholders. The churches are key stakeholders. The youths and many other, including the Law Association of Zambia, an association that I belong to. At no time were we told that there were these consultations going on. If there were any such consultations, we want to say that as members of parliament, on one hand, and members of Central Committee of the PF party on the other, were never consulted. So the UPND government has been doing these consultations with its own members only. I must remind President Hakainde Hichilema that we needed consensus, and general consensus. The consensus that is required in constitution making is not the elitist consensus or bipartisan consensus. What we need is a general consensus. It's not up to two political parties, to sit down and talk about how they want to proceed. What we need is general consensus. So I want to advise the president that the principal focus in constitution making should be the method by which this constitution, amendment will be done. The design of the process will also include the roadmap. The design can take many forms. You have what is called, what you may want to call a formal process, and behind the scenes there are informal consultations and negotiations, as it were. But first of all, there must be some consultation with the stakeholders. Those consultations should not be shrouded in secrecy. They must be disclosed. We must meet at Mulungushi with many other stakeholders and discuss. And the starting point of these negotiations is to agree whether or not it's important to amend the constitution. Let's not forget that. I want to emphasize that. The starting point is to be able to agree with the stakeholders whether or not it's important to amend the constitution. From there, agree on the design and the roadmap through which that process will be done. In order to build trust, because building trust in this process is very important, especially that here in Zambia, if we're to bring it straight home, we are dealing with a government that has made many promises to its citizens that they have not fulfilled. So in order to build trust, we will demand that even the process of amending those constitutions is legislated, meaning that a bill is brought before the floor of the House, as was the case on the National Dialogue Act. Honorable Lubinda brought the bill on the floor of the House. The process for Bill 10 was actually low. It was turned into law. Those are the minimums that we want to demand. These are basically called, the fundamental principles of constitution making. This is the form of amending constitution in what we call the new constitutionalism, where we talk about popular participation. So we want to advise President Hakainde Hichilema that we, as members of parliament, will not support. Our advice is that put it away, but will not stop there. We are going to partner with the people of Zambia. We will partner with the people of Zambia to ensure that this process is halted. And in cases where some MPs are compromised, we are partnering with the church and CSOs to move in those constituencies to tell the people that they've been betrayed by the people that they sent to parliament, by accepting this flawed constitutional amendment process. Yeah, so lastly, I want to say that the next constitutional amendment process must be thorough. it was in 2016 that the UPND shot down the amendments to the Bill of Rights through that referendum. These are some of the things that need to be brought to a stakeholders meeting. When do we table the enhanced Bill of Rights? What else do we need to look at, in our constitution, as it were? There's no such a thing as low-lying fruits. On one hand, people are talking about MPs getting back into the councils. MPs are part of the CDF committees, for instance. I can tell you that the influence and power of MPs in the CDF committees has been diluted because they decided to amend the CDF Act. Now the DCs are in those committees and many other people. So if what was required was the MP's influence within the constituency, we would have seen that in the CDF committee. But what this government endeavors to do at each time, is to reduce the influence of the MPs in their own constituencies. So MPs, do not be fooled. Look at how useless your influence has become in CDF committees. So President Hakainde Hichilema can't come around and convince you that he wants to make you strong in those councils. No, youths, do not be fooled. If indeed President Hakainde Hichilema was interested in affairs of the youth, it was not very long ago there was a bill on the floor of the House to do with the Mineral Commission, where Honorable Kangombe and Honorable Pavuma and Honorable Kangombe proposed that the local content, the participation of local businessmen, where most of the youths were, should increase from, was it 10% to 40%, so that these mining houses that are enjoying tax concessions, that are enjoying tax holidays, and the minority deductibility should not be left to do business with themselves. It should be mentioned here that there's over $5 billion worth of business just in mine supplies and contracts. And what Honorable Kangombe and Honorable Pavuma were seeking was that if 40% of this business was secured, you're talking about $2 billion of business for the youths on the Copper Belt and elsewhere. This was going to be a game changer, not a game changer that we are being told about, to do with CDF. So the real game changer would have been to introduce in that law 40% local content, so that the business transacted by the mines, 40% of it is reserved for our youths and our local businessmen. Then we would have said the president really cares for the youths. Now, how will it save this country? Let's take, for instance, that the youths make it to parliament through these constitution amendments. But there are laws that are being enacted now that make their influence ineffective. Because the youths, like Kangombe, Pavuma, and Binwa Mpundu, were trying to speak on behalf of the youths on the Copper Belt. The youths have sent them to parliament to say, can you go and speak for us? Because we are mine suppliers, but we have no business. We are barely given less than 5% worth of business to supply. And the same mine owners are doing business with themselves. What happened? Those motions were those amendments, proposed amendments, were shot down on the floor of the House. So what we are saying is that if indeed President Hakainde Hichilema and his ministers cared about the youths, they would have quickly accepted the proposed amendments from Honorable Kangombe, Honorable Pavuma, and Honorable Binwa Mpundu to favor the youths on the Copper Belt. But as we speak today, out of the $5 billion worth of supply business to the mines, the Zambians are participating, I think, within 200 million put together. So it's useless. I mean, you can't convince the youths now that you care about them. Even if the youths came to parliament, you are enacting laws now that disadvantage the youths out there. So it's not true that President Hakainde Hichilema wants the youths to come to parliament, and it's also very disappointing that the issue to do with the constitution has become so sensitive. Presiding officers are not allowing members to even mention the word constitution. Why are they sensitive? And yet they are constantly debating, constantly lobbying. What you are hearing from presiding officers from time to time, don't you want women representation? Don't you want youth representation? Don't you want your constituencies to be cut? But when members want to engage on matters to do with the constitution that are being curtailed. Why are presiding officers being so sensitive? Why are they being so sensitive? The issue here is that the president has come out publicly to talk about constitutional amendments. He has come out publicly to talk about amendments. So members should not be curtailed when they want to talk about what the president has said. So when you look at the manner in which this whole matter is being handled, you actually see that there's some underhand methods that are being employed. So I want to call upon the Zambian people to resist attempts by the UPND to amend the constitution in the manner they are proposing. We are calling upon the UPND, first of all, to ensure that adhere to the fundamental or the immutable principles of constitutional making, which predominantly talk about popular participation and consensus building. We want to call upon members of parliament to be on the side of the people and ensure that our constitution is protected, and ensure that the aspirations of the people that voted us into this assembly are taken care of. Like we have said before, being a senior member of my party and being a member of Central Committee, we are saying that for all those members that may wish to act otherwise, we are ready to move into their constituencies and campaign them. We will partner with the church, we will partner with the people and expose them that they have decided to go to bed with the ruling party after accepting certain trappings that are coming from there and betray the trust that they got from the Zambian people. We will not stay back and watch the UPND, violate, the constitutions that, or the constitutional amendment processes that we fought for a very long time. We know that the UPND is desperate. We know that President Hakainde Hichilema is desperate, especially as Honorable Kafuaya put it. It's curious that after, Dr. Beani talked about that meeting at State House where they were intending to manipulate the census report. After that expose, suddenly the EPND has come up very strongly to try and amend the constitution. Would it be wrong for people to conclude that after realizing that the earlier plan may not really work in their favor, they are now trying to use the constitution to try and ensure that they give themselves an advantage to win the 2026 elections? My advice to UPND is that as opposed to expending so much energy on this process, I think that Honorable Kapianga, Honorable Chisopa, and Honorable Kafuaya have called upon government to ensure that they just reduce the cost of living. If President Hakainde Hichilema went back to his drawing board, went back to his friends in America that had pledged to give him $25 billion, he can reduce the cost of energy, the cost of fuel, the cost of the dollar, and many other things. I think that he may not need to belabor on these constitutional amendment processes. The Zambians are likely to give him a second chance. It will be very difficult if he fails to bring down the exchange rates, if he fails to bring down the cost of meal, if he fails to bring down the cost of fertilizer, if he continues with the selective application of the law and many other governance ills that we're witnessing today, I can tell you that it will be an uphill battle for President Hakainde Hichilema to win 2026, because the Zambians are interested to get back to a country where they can feel free, not feel as second-class citizens as the case may be today. So ladies and gentlemen and colleagues, I thank you very much. I thought we could just add our voice to this constitutional amendment process that has caused a lot of worry, and also promise that we shall remain united to soldier on and ensure that even our fellow members of parliament who may be compromised do not fall prey to the whims of the UPND government, as it were. Thank you very much.
Thank you.